shins, with her shins, with her shins, with her shins. When the crowd gets busted, when the floor gets dusty, when your blade gets busted, with her shins, with her shins. When your room smells funny, when a hex takes your money, what's gonna save you, honey? Just with her shins, with her shins. All you witches and all you old magicians, it's time to start listening to with her shins, with her shins. With her shins, with her shins, with her shins, with her shins. With her shins, with her shins, with her shins, with her shins. When the crowd gets busted, when the floor gets dusty, when your blade gets busted, with her shins, with her shins. When your room smells funny, when a hex takes your money, what's gonna save you, honey? Just with her shins, with her shins. All you witches and all you old magicians, it's time to start listening to with her shins, with her shins. With her shins.
I put a spell on you. Because you're mine. Stop the things you do. What's up? I ain't lying. Yeah, I can't stand. Woo! No running around. I can't stand. No putting me down. I put a spell on you. Because you're mine. Oh, yeah. Stop the things you do. What's up? I ain't lying. Oh, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you anyhow. I don't care if you don't want me. I'm yours right now. I'll put a spell on you. Because you're mine.
So bad now, 'cause you're the best girl that I ever had now. I can't get your love, I can't get satisfaction. Little girl, psychotic reaction. And it sounds like this. Your love, I must stay away. I want you, girl, by my side. Little girl with the loving inside now. I can't get your love, I can't get any little fraction. Little girl, psychotic reaction.
The Cramps on Widdershins Radio, and I don't know what the hell we heard before that. Widdershins, radio for your spiritual side. A twisted approach to the left-hand path and all the paths in between. I'm Michael, sometimes known as Uncle Birch. And my emotional support clown to the left of me is Marta, sometimes known as Aunt Marta.
Yep.
Because of the Uncle Birch thing.
I think we listened to Fiona Horn last.
That's right. We heard Fiona Horn's all-girl punk band from when she was like 18, The Mothers.
Yep.
And I need to get her new band on our lineup too.
I forgot what they're called.
And I think she's at WitchCon too. I forgot. WitchCon is the subject matter for tonight. I think this will be our second one this year. We tend to interview a bunch of people from WitchCon. Last year we did a marathon. I think we did 7 days in a row and actually 2 broadcasts in one day.
Yep.
Just to try and make a dent in the list of presenters.
And we didn't really make a dent.
And we didn't even make a dent. So this year we're not even trying. We won't. Yeah. We'll at least do Widdershins every week rather than the other every 2 weeks. But that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
but this year WitchCon is an established thing. Last year it was the first year I am a presenter there, and it is on my contract that I got to share it on my social media. We should get extra credit. The amount of plugging we do for WitchCon, and then there's going to be Hexfest after that. I should get like a little badge or something like that. It's like
if that's important to you,
I want Christian Day
and make sure you get a badge.
Have a whole ceremony and walk up and pin a badge on me. With all our friends, the media there.
Okay.
For going
red carpet.
Red carpet. It's definitely a classy event.
Yes.
For going above and beyond the call of duty and
the
plugging of WitchCon. So tonight, Ellen Everet Hopman's joining us. And I just went to her website to try and grok all of the books she has. There's too many. There's too many. We probably can't even cover them all. But the first one on the list, hell, I've known that book forever. I didn't even realize that was you until we booked you for the show. I knew your name sounded familiar, but I seem to remember having that book on my shelves in like 2000. A Druid's Herbal for the Sacred Earth Years. Did I say that right? Ellen, tell me, did I say it right?
Yeah. Hi. That book's been around since the 80s.
Okay. I thought I remembered it from the
book.
80s, but I definitely had it at my shop when we first opened. But yeah, because I remember, back in the day we had Cunningham. We had Ellen Everet Hopman, and I'm trying to pull somebody else out of my butt. I don't think we had the
Paul Barrow, the Master Book of Herbalism.
Did we have that yet in the 80s?
Oh yeah. He published before I did.
Huh. Maybe I just wasn't aware of that, but I definitely carried that book at my shop. Definitely carried your book at my shop. Back in the 80s, there wasn't a whole lot to choose from. But so definitely,
that's why I started writing. That's exactly why I started writing. I mean, I actually wrote the first magical tree book. Now there's a billion of them, but it's called Tree Medicine, Tree Magic.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first book, a magical book about trees that anyone ever wrote. And then after that, you know how it is. You come up with something and then 50 other people do their version.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was... So...
Yeah, well, especially, you seem to be leaning from the side of Druidism, so a tree book would make more sense than an earth book or an herb book. Trees being so sacred. And I, of course, know that because I named myself Birch for a reason, right?
Yeah. yeah, I am a druid. I've been a druid for over 30 years now. It's a long time.
And you're...
I'm not a witch.
Okay. Where are you?
I'm in
Massachusetts. Okay, yeah. One of your books was New England Witches or something like that. So I kind of figured you're up around those parts.
Yeah, the Real Witches of New England.
The Real Witches of New England.
And Christian is in that book. Christian Day is in that book, along with a lot of other very interesting people. But
I should hope
that's,
so, yeah.
That's the history of the witch persecutions, and kind of a thumbnail version, followed by interviews with descendants of actual New England accused witches. You have to say accused because most of them were not witches, and they were just accused. And then the last third of the book is modern witches that I interviewed.
Very nice, very nice. How many books would you say you have? I saw a couple novels in there.
Yeah, there's 3 novels. I don't know, people always ask me, and I don't know how to answer because I have a new book coming out in April, the children's book, which I told you about, Once Around the Sun. I have The Sacred Herbs of Yule and Christmas, which I just handed in to the publisher yesterday. And then I'm working on another one, which is a handbook for Druids, for Celtic Reconstructionist Druids. So I don't know how many are on the website. I think there's about 15.
Well, let's see. We got a Druids Herbals first. Druids Herbal of Sacred Tree Medicine, Legacy of Druids, Being a Pagan, Gifts of the Healing Earth, Once Around the Sun. That's coming out soon, right?
Yeah, that can be pre-ordered now. It's a children's book.
Okay.
And yeah, that's I'm very happy with that one. It has beautiful pictures, gorgeous illustrations, and it covers different deities, gods and goddesses from different cultures: Polish, Italian, Irish, Scottish. Who else is in there? Vikings, of course, the Norse. But for each of the holy days, I have a story, an original story that I wrote, and then I have recipes, food, and then I have crafts, like how to make a wand, how to make a besom, how to dye eggs using herbs, natural herbs, But it's really nice, and it just got its first review from a magazine in Ireland, and they said it was really good.
Very cool. Very
cool.
Let's see. So, Pagans, the Wheel of the Sacred Year, Priestess of the Fire Temple. Okay, that's also on Kindle. Priestess of the Forest, Sacred Herbs of Spring, Scottish Herbs and Fairy Lore, Secret Medicines from Your Garden, The Secret Medicines of Your Kitchen, another, the Druid Isle, the Druid Isle again, the Witches of New England, we said that one, Sacred Herbs of Samhain, Tree Medicine, Tree Magic, okay, I definitely know that one too. Oh, wait, that's the end of the list. We got to the end of the list so far.
How many is that?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 books. This lady been busy.
17?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeez. I had no idea.
Now you're feeling old? So, let's see. You mentioned wands. What's the traditional wood for a woman's wand and for a druid?
Well, an ash wand probably, but
yeah.
In the book, what I did was I listed different woods, and I said, depending on what you're trying to do, because if you're doing love magic, you're probably going to choose apple wood, for example, or cherry maybe, but apple would be ideal. But if it depends on what you're trying to do. Birch would be nice for a new project or organizing the house or getting your life together.
Well, I'm terrible at organizing the house, though.
Or getting your
my life together. Yeah.
Yeah, goddesses. I think of birch. I mean, there are gods associated with birch, but I think of birch more as a goddess tree.
Yeah.
So that's the way I think of it.
All slim and silver and stuff. Yeah.
Slim and silver.
Slim and silver.
Willow would be more for healing, pine for peace. They're all different. Maple is very good for artistic work, artistic creativity.
What would
And
you?
I explain each one in the kids' book. I just have like a little less than a paragraph for each one. But if you're seriously interested, you can go to the book Tree Medicine, Tree Magic. I also have a book, A Druid's Herbal of Sacred Tree Medicine, which is very Irish-oriented. And it's all real stuff. That's nothing that I made up. It's all based on scholarship. It's got footnotes, the whole deal. Mm-hmm. But it talks about the mystical properties of the wood, spiritual properties of the wood, medicinal properties of the wood, and the way the Druids would have used the wood, the word oghams. For example, birch, is it pale skin, fair hair?
Uh-huh.
So if you were talking to another Druid and you didn't want the people around you to understand what you were saying, you could just use that in a sentence. If, the birch, it actually is B, bathe, begins with the letter B. So two Druids were communicating and they wanted to favor one guy to be king. Suppose they like the guy called Brian, and the tribe is getting ready to vote. So one Druid could say to the other Druid, faded skin and fair hair. And the other Druid would know immediately that the first Druid was favoring Brian because his name begins with a B. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, so there's word oghams like that for all the trees. And then there's a lot more oghams. There's bird ogham, river ogham, but that's how the Druids communicated. So nobody knew what they were talking about. They thought, ooh, very mysterious,
Yes, they like to be mysterious, for sure. Is there a specific Druid tradition you're involved in?
Well, at the moment, I'm Archdruid of a group called Tribe of the Oak. And we are Celtic Reconstructionist Druids, and I've been Archdruid there for about 7 years. And I'm currently trying to find somebody else to take over.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't oak just pretty much mean Druid, though? It's kind of redundant. Dwyer, I believe is the word.
Yes, you're right. It means, yes, oak knower or oak wisdom, yes. But in English, we call it Tribe of the Oak. Tuhanadara in Irish, Tribe of the Oak. I've been a member of a number of different groups. I co-founded the Order of White Oak. I co-founded the Henge of Keltria. I was one of the first 30 members of ADF.
Uh-huh.
That was back in the 80s with Isaac Bonowitz. I don't know if you ever knew him.
Oh, God, he was a character, yeah. I remember hearing him on Christian's show. He said something on Christian's show that I'll never repeat, but I'll never forget what he said.
But you can't repeat it on the air?
I would never say the thing that he said. Christian laughed. I would be in so much trouble. Yeah, I would be in so much trouble.
I did my second circle initiation with Isaac in ADF. That's as far as I got, because then a bunch of us hived off and created the Henge of Keltria. And then a bunch of us hived off and created the Order of White Oak, and then now it's Tribe of the Oak. But I'm currently trying to find somebody to give the whole operation over to, because I've been running groves for over 30 years, and enough is enough. You reach a certain point. So, I don't know if you feel that way.
Absolutely. Well, I opened a brick and mortar in 2000 on Beltane, and I called it the Sacred Grove. And I was amazed that we got away with that and that there wasn't a million other sacred groves out there. But there was the Sacred Grove of this, the Sacred Grove of that, the Sacred Grove of the other thing. Nobody just had the Sacred Grove. And we do come from a Druid tradition that Isaac covered and bashed the hell out of, but he was so witty, I enjoyed it, even though he was like bashing my elders and stuff. It was funny as hell.
Yeah, he was an incredible wit. That he was, and he was so smart. Yeah. He was a member of Mensa,
Yeah.
And I got invited to speak at Menza one time. I have no idea why, but there was Isaac, and he was shocked to see me.
You ever
yeah, he was a character.
you ever gone to gone across the pond and interacted with the official druids over in England?
I'm an official druid. What do you mean official druid?
But you know that
Yes.
I
have a book called The Legacy of Druids.
I'm trying to think of a nice way to say
I
it.
went over there and I interviewed druids. I met the arch-druids of many different groups. And Philip Cargam wrote the foreword to that book. He's in the book, too. I interviewed him. But, no, I made a point of going over there because, you know, you ask 3 druids what a druid is, and you get 10 different answers, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to hear it. I knew what the American druids were up to, but I wanted to know what the English druids were doing, and the Scottish druids, and Irish druids. I made a point, of going over there. And then when I wrote the book, A Druid's Herbal of Sacred Tree Medicine, that happened after I went to Ireland for the first time, and I met druids. And that was interesting. But I took my book, Tree Medicine, Tree Magic, with me to give away to people as gifts. And one of the druids that I met there, he said, Ellen, he said, this is what we've been trying to put together. You put it together for us. This is what we've been trying to do for years.
Oh, right on.
They were happy with the book, so.
Cool. I met Edward Prynne, Archdruid of Cornwall, once. He came to our little town of Santa Cruz, California, once upon a time.
Okay, him I don't know.
He was a character. He had wasn't really a standing stone. It was like as big as a standing stone, but it was like almost like a rocking chair. This big stone rocking thing that he said he could time travel and go to other worlds just being rocked. It was just such an interesting character.
Is that the
kind of
stone? Is it in the middle of his circle and it's leaning?
Kind of. It's almost like kind of beveled, kind of like a curved, large curved stone.
I went to that circle.
Yeah.
I didn't do ceremony with them, but I did go to the circle.
Yeah, he was pretty old. I'm not sure if he's still around or what. That was the one druid I met. I mean, official druid, or the word I don't want to say is like kind of like the show druids. It's almost like those druids. They perform for the public occasionally. They show up at Stonehenge on solstice and stuff.
Oh, yeah. But the people that I know that are real druids, they avoid Stonehenge.
That's what I meant by
They
real
avoid
druids.
Stonehenge on the holy days.
Yeah.
They would rather be in a woods somewhere or sitting in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere, rather anywhere other than Stonehenge. But, I mean, they'll go to Stonehenge when it's not a holy day, but on those festival days, they won't go there.
It's like how we avoid bourbon during Mardi Gras,
Yes.
because that's where everybody flocks to.
I mean, we avoid, well,
Right.
pre-COVID, we avoided
Or
bourbon
Salem on
always.
Halloween,
yeah.
if you've ever been there.
Yeah. We're still, we haven't even seen this town's Halloween yet. You know, we haven't even really seen a full-fledged Mardi
seen
Gras.
anything.
It shut down shortly after we got here.
Are you
We're-
in New Orleans?
Yeah, we're in New
Orleans.
Orleans,
Oh, yeah.
but we moved here literally 2 months before, less than that, before everything shut down due to COVID. So we haven't really been out much. I mean, a little bit here and there after we got vaccinated,
After the vaccine,
but really not that much.
Never been to Salem,
Nope.
but we know a lot of people there apparently.
Yes, you do. It sounds like Christian is creating a boarding house or something where
Yeah.
people will be able to stay.
Yeah, like an Airbnb.
Yeah, I think it's like an Airbnb or like, yeah.
Yeah, so then you can go to Salem.
Yeah.
But just don't go at Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know, I've way before I met Christian, there was Hex Education, and I listen to Hex Education all the time. And recently, when they started talking about wanting to get a house in Salem, I just looked at them and I go, why? Everything I know about Salem, I know from you, and it doesn't sound like someplace I want to go. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there's a good side, too. But mostly what I know of Salem is, the gossip and the witch wars that Christian was always talking about on his show. But I'm sure there's a good side, too.
Well, there's a lot of sides to Salem. I mean, there's a whole historical, early American history side.
Yeah.
And then there's an art scene there, and then there's the witch scene, and then there's a lot of commercial witch stuff. So there's a lot going on there, But you have that in New Orleans, too. You have the commercial stuff, and then you have the real, the voodoo and the hoodoo, the real people that are not commercial,
Yeah.
You get that.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to go to WitchCon. Let's see what you're teaching. I'm just going to have to ask you. It looks like WitchCon's down right now.
Yeah. Oh, it's still it. Okay.
Yeah. I already told Kevin and Christian, but WitchCon.com. So, what are you teaching at WitchCon this year?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They haven't told me when I'm speaking yet, I don't think, but I'm doing the Scottish herbs and fairy lore. So I'm going to be talking about Scottish fairy lore.
Yeah.
I did spend quite a bit of time in Scotland. I have Scottish ancestry. I spent a whole summer at Findhorn, which is this community. It's the first New Age community, actually, in the world. But I spent a whole summer at Findhorn and also on Iona, the island of Iona. And I've been back to Scotland a few more times. And I hung out with some folks, one of whom was a Druid, and I did put together a book about Scottish fairy lore. It's called Scottish Herbs and Fairy Lore, with Pendraig Publishing.
Oh,
and
nice.
That's what I'm going to be talking about.
Very cool. I'm on TikTok as well. I'm taking one for the team. It's you don't want to go there if you're not already there. There's so much crap on TikTok, but let's ask an expert. There was somebody. She teaches really cheesy spells, very flashy presentation. She taught a spell how to bring fairies into your house. What would you say about such a thing?
I'm laughing because in Ireland and Scotland, people work really hard to keep them out of the house.
Right.
That's what I said. I mean, that's pretty much the upside is most people have said that. Most people chastise this woman. What the hell are you doing? Because this is like, appealing to like teenagers, like the kids that call themselves baby witches.
It's like Tinkerbell.
And they're thinking about bringing. And Tinkerbell wasn't actually very friendly either, man. She was jealous.
Yeah.
And she was a pixie.
Well, I'm not on TikTok, obviously, but I have met at least one witch, and her whole purpose is to make money there. So she just comes up with these. I don't know how many minutes they are. What is it? 1 minute?
The standard's a minute.
Presentations?
The standard's a minute. You can go 3 minutes, but I have found 3 minutes doesn't get as many hits.
She creates these little 1 to 3 minute things, and depending on how many viewers she gets, she makes money.
Yeah.
And that's her whole goal, is just to make money. So it's all about eyeballs. It's not about truth or ethics or genuine practices. It's all about eyeballs, from what I can tell.
Yeah, that's the TikTok way. Yeah.
It's all about clicks. Social media is that way. For the social media witchcraft community, the most important thing is clicks.
But the crazy thing is, there are now people who are training. The way they're learning witchcraft is on TikTok.
Yes, that's why. That's
with no irony at all. It's just like, I'm a witch. I learned how on TikTok.
Yeah,
that's why I stayed on TikTok. I'm trying to offset the balance, and it's tough to teach anything worthwhile in 60 seconds, but you can. You just got to have it down. Just like little pieces. You teach little pieces of witchcraft, and then maybe you can go 3 minutes. But I found that the 3-minute videos don't get as many hits because the millennial witches can't concentrate that long.
Yeah.
That's 3 whole minutes.
No, they can't.
Yeah. And what first brought me to TikTok was, you'll love this one too. There was allegedly some kid out there that was going to hex the moon and the fae. I said, I got to see this. Never actually saw that person. I don't think that person actually existed, but the ideas were so ludicrous that everybody on Facebook, the old witches on Facebook, were talking about it.
It was a publicity stunt.
It was a publicity stunt, I think. Dog, you need to just back off. Okay? Just go do something else, dog. Sorry. I have a very needy hound that's trying to tangle himself in my wires. Go. That's the microphone. Go, 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 go.
Mojo, go.
Mojo, go. We're always banishing Mojo. Let's see, I guess.
Well, you don't want to banish your mojo.
I know, but we accidentally, I say no Mojo so many times a day.
Get out of here, Mojo.
Well, let's see. So, what was it? Fae, Scottish herbs, and Fae magic. What can you tell us about that? What can you tell us about that without blowing the workshop? And fairy lore.
Well, I'm just going to be doing an overview of how to talk to them, where they live. They're found under the ground, and when you can see them most easily, which is usually at dawn or at dusk, things like that. How do you know when they're around you? How do you attract them? They like music. They love harps. If you take an actual acoustic instrument and go out in the forest and play, that's what they love. I've run 3 different groves here over the years. Each one lasted about a decade, and in one of the groves we had a harper, and when we went out in the woods to do ritual, because I have a stone circle out behind the house, and he took the harp with him, and I always have my bell branch, so I start the ceremony with bells, and then he was playing the harp, and when he stopped playing the harp, and everybody heard this, the tune continued. It kept going.
Wow.
And we all heard it. And it sounded like a xylophone, which was the last thing I expected. But it sounded like a kid playing the xylophone. But it was the tune that we had been playing, and everybody heard it.
Wow.
Yeah.
They
love music, so
it's a magical instrument.
If you want to attract fairies, go out in the woods and bring your guitar, or bring a flute, or a harp. They love the harp, and just play for them. Let's see, what else? I'm talking about stones. The white stone of the fairies. All white stones belong to the fairies. When I take a walk, if I see a white stone, like white quartz, I always pick it up and put it in my pocket. So I have this massive collection of
I was about to say, all those years, you must have a mountain.
Well, what I do is when I do live classes, which I haven't done for 2 years, for obvious reasons, but I give everybody a stone, usually when I do a class. So that's what I do with those. But in Scotland, they would use those stones if they find a pool, a fairy pool, that is a wild pool in the middle of the forest. That's a fairy pool. And they would decorate it with white stones around the outside. And that was something especially that children do. So it's a really nice activity at midsummer to have kids go out to a fairy pool and decorate it with the white stones, Yeah, I have lots of stuff like that. That's what I'm going to be talking about. And I have certain herbs that are very traditional, that you make wreaths out of, that you can hang, in the house, on your door. In the old days, they would make magical wreaths and put them around the butter churn or under the milk pail, because they didn't want the fairies or the witches to steal the butter.
Yeah.
That means to spoil it,
You ever notice how fairies and witches get blamed for all the same stuff? It's like a witch blighted the harvest, or a fairy blighted the harvest. A witch curdled the milk, or a fairy curdled the milk. There's some things, there's some connection that some people are making there, which kind of makes sense. Witches being connected to the fairy realms, that kind of thing. Do you ever hear Gwydion Pentherwyn?
Oh, yeah.
I figured because you're old school, most people would go, what?
Well, actually, I interviewed his girlfriend. My first, the book Being a Pagan.
Yeah.
It was originally called People of the Earth, but I interviewed his girlfriend in there.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
After he passed away.
Okay, I know that book too. Was that like you had interviews with all kind of prominent people in that book?
Yeah, what I did was I went to Starwood and PSG and, a bunch of festivals, and in those days I had a microphone. I would put the microphone in somebody's face and I would say, hey, would you like to talk about, whatever, and then that's what's in the book. It's the conversations that we had. And it was great at Starwood because half the people had no clothes on, so I'd be sitting there with some guy with no clothes on, like just interviewing in the hot sun. But that's what I did. And the same thing when I went to England. I had a tape recorder and a microphone that I carried around with me.
I used to do something similar for a pirate radio station. So, Marta, so Starwood, you know that song that we have, Witch Wars, that we play on the show sometimes? That's where it debuted, Starwood. Like they had like the Church of the Subgenius would go to that. A lot of other things that weren't specifically pagan, but really old school. So yeah, People of the Earth. Did you? There's so many books over time. I get them cross-referenced in my brain. Was there like the equivalent of a pagan census in that book? I've often thought it was that book. Where it was like it had the top job.
Green Egg did that.
Green Egg did that.
That was the first, and I think, there have been censuses since then, but the one that really stuck in my head was Green Egg, because it shocked me. Because that's when I found out that only 2% of pagans belong to a particular culture, shall we say. So in other words, Egyptian, Celtic, that's only 2%. 98% of pagans are just generic Wiccans or generic pagans. That's what I remember from that.
Yeah. Well, Oberon Zell almost coined the term neo-pagan. I don't think he specifically coined it. Maybe he did.
Did he coin polyamory?
I think he did coin polyamory. I think that was his. Yeah. God, it just seems in my head it was a book, and I just always remember it listed like the top professions of pagans at the time.
Yeah, that was Green Egg.
That was in Green Egg.
The top
Okay.
professions were computer programmer and teacher, and counselor.
And I think like law enforcement was like 3 or something like that. And I was shocked. I was shocked. So that was a Green Egg. Okay.
I mean, it's amazing. We're respectable.
Yeah.
We're professional. We're more educated than the general public.
Yeah.
We have more people with master's degrees than the general public.
Yep.
Well, I remember in the 80s.
We're smart.
In the 80s, a lot of pagans had the BBS system, which most people, you had to be a total geek to even be into that stuff. But it was a pre-internet. It ran like the internet. You had email that you could send, and it'd take like 3 or 4 days to reach the other coast. So it was like, I think the email was slower than snail mail. But it operated just like the internet, and pagans were the first people I saw organizing on that platform. And it always kind of made sense that a pagan would think of that thing more readily than a Christian. It's like, okay, I'm going to take my mind and I'm going to put it through this screen here, this portal, and my mind's going to end up in a different world. And if I type in a different code, I'm going to go to another world and another world and worlds on top of worlds. It seemed like something that a pagan would make up.
Symbols.
Yeah, symbols.
Pagans love symbols, so we took to symbols very quickly.
Yeah, I think it was 1987 on the Pagan Information Network, I coined the macro parenthesis, capital O, other parenthesis, triple moon. Ever see anybody? You ever see anybody do that? They owe me $1. I came up with that first. I came up with that first, man. I see kids do it all the time. And you're welcome, youngin.
So it's the closing
baby witch.
parentheses first. And then
See, I knew Marta's
and
an
then
editor.
open
So.
parentheses after that.
Yeah, see, Marta's an editor, so I knew she was going to tell me which parentheses was the correct ones to use.
Yes.
But that's one of the reasons we keep her around. Wow, so this is becoming a smaller world every time, because I definitely know that book. I remember that book at the first witch store that I worked at in Santa Cruz, and all of the books that I liked when I opened my shop, we just carried them over there too. So definitely had your book on the shelves. Definitely the Druid Herbal and the Sacred Tree book. God, that's been a long. So the tree book wasn't too far behind the Druid Herbal, right? Was that 80s too?
Well, the first book that I wrote was Tree Medicine, Tree Magic.
Yeah.
That was the first one. Then came the Druid's Herbal for the Sacred Earth year.
Oh, so Tree
I
Medicine was first. Okay.
I can't remember what came after that. There's too many books.
Yeah, I clicked on them. They don't have like published dates on here. I wouldn't have asked. I guess you could. Well, actually, it's $16.95 for the Druid's Herbal and $14.95 for the. $16.95 for the tree and $14.95 for the Sacred Earth. So you all need to check out EveretHopman.com. It's just like it's spelled in the notes for the show right here. You can see all these books and things and all the other stuff.
And I just want to tell people always say your site is not secure because that's what it says on the top, but it's irrelevant because when you click on one of the books, it takes you to PayPal.
Okay.
And PayPal is very secure, so you're not buying the book from me, you're actually buying it through PayPal.
Yeah.
So it's
That is weird. I've never seen that. It does say that. It says not secure. I would hope if it was important, they would like make it in red or something like that. It's kind of like off gray.
No, like a lot of sites say not secure because they want you to pay like $100 a year to put that it's a secure site.
Yeah.
It's a scam. They make you pay to change that so it says that it's secure. So most people just never bother. They don't, but I just want people to know that when you buy the books, you're not buying them from me, you're buying them from PayPal. And as you know, PayPal will refund you and, take care of you and make sure that you're legitimate and, the whole thing.
That's what's good about PayPal.
Very secure.
Although we did have
one time.
Yeah, we did have a time where Marta called. You called them.
Yep.
And somebody hijacked the number. It's like we had a problem with PayPal.
I ended up getting all the money back, but I asked my bank. I said, how were they even able to do this? And they have a way of subverting the phone call and just taking it over. So don't call them.
PayPal is usually good with fixing that like they did. But here on our website, we got a Druid's weblog. We got the Willow Grove shop. Events, podcasts, and interviews will probably be on there after this. Archaeology news, arts news, Celtic news, climate and nature news, Druid news, fairy news, forest news. God, this sounds like a full-time job just keeping your website up to date. Health news, herb news, magic news, pagan news, world current events news, religion news. Contact Ellen. Well, God, next time we're looking for news for the show, we should just go here. And Tribe of the Oak
Subscribe
basic
to my blog.
book list.
I do a monthly blog. Every month I give all the latest news.
Is that a Druid's weblog?
Mm-hmm.
That one? Okay. Let's see. There's basic book list. Let me see something. The Celtic World, World of the Druids. There's an interesting list. Early Irish farming. That sounds like a read.
That's the a basic Druid list. One of my pet peeves is people always say, if you're going to call yourself a Druid, you can do whatever you want because we don't know anything about Druids. There's no information about Druids. That's what people always say. And it's nonsense.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
Well,
So that's...
I'm of the belief that the Druids encoded themselves in story, verse, and poems. To this day, when people sing "Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly" around Christmas time, there's nothing in that song that's not Druid. Every verse, every chorus, it's all Druid all the time, and I think the Druids are laughing hysterically beyond the grave. But often I've retorted with people that we do know quite a great deal about the Druids just from the Romans. The Romans kept really good records in battle, even when they lost, and especially when they lost. And some of their interactions with the Druids, we learned a great deal. Like, well, here you are. You're a woman and a Druid. People will tell me that Druids was a boys' club. And it was only men were in there. Well, if you look at the Roman battle records of the siege of the Isle of Mona, there were priestesses in their ranks running back and forth, burning braids and screaming to the heavens. And it's a great tale because the first two waves of Romans were frozen in fear and stood there and died as the Picts slaughtered them. It's a great story. but you there's a lot of knowledge about the Druids just in that one tale. And there are other things that the Druids left behind too, but just the Roman battle records alone, I think you can learn a lot about the Druids.
Yeah, well, the Irish, people don't know the Irish tradition. There's lots of female Druids in the Irish stories, and I have an article that's floating around the internet. If you just put in my name and female Druids, the article comes up. It's called Female Druids, or the evidence for female Druids, and there's a lot. I mean, I tended to look more at the Irish material. I'm much more interested in that than in the British material, because the Irish material is actually older. The older wisdom tales that we have and the older poetry is Irish. It's, I mean, Taliesin maybe is somewhat contemporary with the Irish material, but most British Druids look at the Mabinogion, and that's Middle Ages. That's well into the Middle Ages, well into the Christian era. So I tend to look at the Irish stuff, and we have tons of material. We have all the Brehon laws. We have full law books. We have. Well, I'm writing another book right now. Actually, I'm writing about how to be a Celtic Druid. And that's the kind of thing that I talk about.
Well, as I mentioned before, our parent tradition is a Druidic tradition, and the really meaty stuff that you find in the tradition is the Irish stuff. That they had to actually go over and write it down. Where if it was all like oral, they had to write everything down and then bring it back. I kind of think more of Ireland as the place of the Druids, and then they spread to other places, kind of like the mothership, if you will.
Well, the Romans never got to Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, they got there to trade possibly, but they never conquered Ireland. So the Druid tradition in Ireland kept going. The Gauls were trashed. The British Druids Britain became Romanized. France was just creamed, and the Austrian Druids. I mean, Austria was one of the original homelands of the Celtic culture, and they got overrun. They were the first people to get overrun, actually. But Ireland wasn't touched, and the north of Scotland wasn't touched. So that's where I like to look, for material.
Yeah. I've definitely got a lot of Irish and Scottish blood, so that's where I would look to. So Tribe of the Oak, that's one of your groves?
That's the group that I am currently Archdruid of, and I'm trying very hard to find somebody else to take it over. Yeah. Well, we were talking about TikTok. A lot of people are training on TikTok, right? But but I do not consider somebody a druid until they have read, I think I have 18 books now that I make them read. I want them to read, I want them to know the history. If they're going to call themselves a druid, I want them to know the wisdom literature, I want them to know the history. And then I have one-on-one lessons that I do, which involve making things and doing magic and stuff like that. But that happens after your basic reading is done. First you have to come in at the ground level and get your feet wet, before you go on to the spiritual stuff. But what I've learned, 15, 20 years ago, I would work with people and they would read the books and they would do the lessons, and that was fine. Now, it's a whole different world now. No, they don't want to do the reading. They don't want to do the lessons. They just want to call themselves a druid.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting for somebody to turn up who's done the work, so I can hand the whole thing over to them.
There is one on TikTok, Grammy Druid. I'm kind of thinking she's in Tennessee. She talks about a lot of Appalachian stuff, too. She seems to be the real deal, and she teaches, and I think she's got like groups that she leads and stuff like that. But that's really the only person teaching Druidry that I've run across on TikTok. There's a lot of Norse practitioners, a lot of witches and Wiccans and all that, but only can think of the one Druid out there, at least legit.
Well, yeah, there aren't that many Druids.
Yeah.
I go back to that original census that was done by Green Egg. 2% of pagans. Excuse me. That includes the Greeks, Greek pagans, Roman pagans, Egyptian pagans, Celtic pagans. All of us. We're only 2%.
Wow.
There's very few. If you want to have a Druid gathering, at least in New England, I don't know what it's like where you are, but in New England, I used to host every summer. I had a camp out. People would come to my house, and they would camp. And in order to have a decent group to do ceremony, you had to pull in people from 6 different states. I had people from Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, just to camp out.
Yeah. Well, here I guess we'd probably have Drew-do. Everything mixes with voodoo here.
Oh, yeah.
Drew-do. That would be kind of interesting, actually.
I can't picture Druids in New Orleans. That's hard to imagine.
Yeah, all those big robes and stuff. It's too hot.
Wow. But, can you picture that? I don't know.
No. Well, maybe a druid with a top hat. You gotta integrate some New Orleans stuff too. Top hats, some
white
skulls.
robes and a top hat.
Right, robes and a top hat.
Or maybe a kilt, just a kilt and a top hat.
Maybe. Let's see. Let me see if WitchCon Online's back. Let's see. Oh, see, now theirs says not secure too, but theirs says it in red. Oh, there we go. We got it back. All right, let me do this.
And I'm surprised because Kevin is so on top of everything.
I know. Well, I called him right before the show, and it looks like he got it fixed. All right, let me read the thing here. God, when is it? Oh my God, it's right around the corner. Bring the magic to you. February 18th to the 20th, 2022. Join the largest online magical conference in the world, featuring nearly 100 witches and conjurers, coming to you by live stream video from across the globe. WitchCon online presenters are the preeminent masters of the magical arts and hail from across the rainbow spectrum of occult and spiritual practices. Registration is limited to 1,000 attendees and includes all live video classes, rituals, and performances, as well as access to recordings of every class after the event has ended via our on-demand library, so you won't miss a single moment. Now, I think that's one of the best parts about WitchCon, and I think last year when we did or the year before that, we did Hex Fest online. Same thing. You could watch it later. It's like when you got to go in person. I miss most people's workshops. There's too much other stuff going on, and I still haven't watched everybody from WitchCon
that's
last year.
one of the best things that's happened during the pandemic. I
Yeah.
mean, it's actually been a good thing.
Yeah.
That I've done workshops in Ireland. You know, I participated in a film in Ireland.
Yeah.
You know, all from my Massachusetts bedroom. You know, it's like that's the best part of this. I can talk to people all over the world now with no problem.
Yeah. So some good came out of it. Well, I was supposed to teach at Hex in New Orleans in like March of 2020, and we were staying home. Other than that, and Marta just said, "Look, you know, if you go into New Orleans and teach, you can't come back in the house for 2 weeks. You're gonna have to stay in the car." And I begged Christian to come up with some sort of online thing, and that was the. And then he actually the shop had to close about 2 days before my shop, and then they came up with the Hex Education Network, and that's another cool format where people are teaching still to this day online. You can watch it again and again and again. You know, if you got short-term memory loss or you don't take good notes, you know, you can watch it again later. I still haven't watched it. Were you at WitchCon last year?
Last year WitchCon had 99 people, 99 speakers.
I think so. Yeah.
I think. Is that the number this year?
I don't know. I occasionally will read the list, but it's just so damn long. I run out of breath. But it was supposed to be around 100.
Last year it was the largest witch conference ever.
Yes.
In terms of speakers.
Yeah, and he was trying to almost double that this year. I think last year was about 100, and he was trying to go for 150, but I don't know how many they ended up with. Yeah.
Because it was 2 days last year. This year it's 3 days. So he has to have more speakers.
That's true. Oh, there we go. Okay, there's Ellen. Now let's see if I click on you.
Is there a schedule? You know when I'm speaking?
There is a schedule, but you got to kind of like sift through it. Like they don't have the schedule attached to. Oh wait, no, now they do. Oh, last time I checked, they didn't. Scottish Urban Fairy Lore, Saturday, February 19th at 1:45 p.m. at the Jupiter Conservatory, and you'll be vending.
Okay, is that 1:45 Central or 1:45 Eastern?
I imagine. I think it displays in my time.
Yeah. It's our time. Yeah. So for you, an hour later.
Okay, so I'll be 2:45. Thank you for letting me know.
Sure. I got to look up what I'm teaching now too. I think I only teach one thing there. I got 3 things at Hex Fest, 1 thing at WitchCon. I'll look that up later. But yeah, get your tickets. Sign up. They're talking about limiting it to 1,000 people, so you got to get in there. Hex Fest is last year sold out about 3 months ahead of time. WitchCon is next month, people.
I can't remember if I did Hex Fest last year or the year before. I can't remember, but I'm doing it next year. I'm not doing it this year. I'm already booked for 2023 for Hex Fest.
Well, hopefully we'll be past COVID by then. Yeah. And we'll see people's faces. I think last year there was like plague beads. Yeah.
This is really interesting. You know how every time COVID mutates, they give it a new letter of the Greek alphabet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, well, when they run out of Greek letters, they're going to do the Irish Ogham alphabet.
That would be funny. Nobody would know what it is.
No one's going to know what it is. But maybe this will be an education.
It'll get people interested. Yeah.
Runes has gotten a whole lot of, airplay. We've got to get Ogham some airplay.
Yeah, they could do runes after that.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Well, Ellen, thank you for coming on the show. Look forward to seeing your workshop. And it's amazing to go through it was like going down memory lane, looking at all these books. And then when you said People of the Earth, you're taking me way back. So People of the Earth is now being a pagan? Is that the same book?
Yeah, it's now called
Okay.
Being a Pagan.
All right.
Yep.
I got to check that out. All right, you got anything else to
Well,
plug
thank you
before we
very
go?
much. Well, I just want to remind people that the new children's book, Once Around the Sun,
That's right, Once Around the Sun.
is coming out in April, but it can be pre-ordered now from Inner Traditions or from me. I mean, if you go to my site, it'll take you to Inner Traditions. But it's a fabulous book for kids to teach them about the festivals and the different cultures, you know, Italian, Polish, Norse, Irish, Scottish, you know, that are associated with the festivals. And it's designed so that kids can read it out loud, and parents could read it out loud to really young kids. But I was hoping that kids would read it to their parents, you know, or if they don't have siblings, they could read it to their pets, you know. But it's really designed for pagan kids to teach them.
I think we're going to get it and make our kid read it to us.
It's getting good reviews.
So Once Around the Sun, stories, crafts, and recipes to celebrate the Sacred Earth Year. New children's book, Once Around the Sun, will be on sale April 5th. But you said they can get it now, right? So you
Yeah,
go
they can pre-order it.
pre-order it. Okay.
And get it now.
EllenEverettHopman.com.
It's on Amazon. You know, it's everywhere. It's just, it doesn't exist yet, but they can pre-order it.
Right on.
So.
Well, Ellen, merry meet. Thanks for coming on the show. Look forward to seeing your class, and I guess we'll see you at HexFest next year.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And stay safe, okay?
You too. Thanks for coming on. Blessed be.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye. All right. Wow, that was good. Ellen Everet Hopman on Widdershins Radio. And we're about out of here. I'm going to play you something to get out of here. Let me see. What do I want to play? You're listening to Widdershins. We're typically here about every other Wednesday when we don't decide to take the day off. You know, if there's just nothing to talk about, we'll take the day off. But I think we'll probably be on every Wednesday until WitchCon happens, because trying to interview more and more people. I know we got Lilith Dorsey and we've got Lilith Dorsey going to be coming on soon. I'm not sure. I think we're probably going to try and book her for 2 weeks from now, because she's a local, and when we have locals on, we have them come over to our house. Lilith Dorsey and Ellie Barnes said they wanted to be on, so we'll try and get them on pretty soon. Not sure who we have booked for next week. But Widdershins, you can find us wherever you get podcasts, and if you can't find us there, then they suck. Find someplace else to get podcasts. You find us at iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We start our broadcast at Spreaker.com. I think we're on Tumblr, SoundCloud, and probably other places that I don't even... What's that? Spotify and... God, I think there's probably other places that I'm forgetting too, but thank you for tuning in to Widdershins. Stay safe out there, kids. We'll be back next time.
Like a rock, like a planet, like a fucking atom bomb. I'll remain unperturbed by the joy and the madness that I encounter everywhere I turn. I've seen it all along, in books and magazines. Like a twitch before dying, like a pornographic scene. There's a bar behind the window, there's an ugly laughing man. Like a hummingbird in silence, like the blood on my door. It's a generator. The blood on my door. Wash me clean and I will run until I shore. I've known it all alone, like the bone under my skin, like actors in a photograph, like paper in the wind. There's a hammer by the window, there's a knife on the floor, like turbines in darkness, like the blood